welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy and I'm coming to you today from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. This channel is all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting and crocheting to share with you all. I am hosting a year-long make-along on Instagram called the Make 9 2022 Mal, and that is for you to join in the Make 9 challenge, where you choose 9 projects that you would like to make this year and post a grid of those projects to Instagram. You can include any whips that you might have on the go that you've had outstanding for even years. It's fine as long as you would like to work on it this year and hopefully finish it, but you're not required to finish anything with this make-along. It's just a participatory make-along, so please feel free to continue to join in even though we're already halfway through the year. You can join in at any time, and it's super fun to see the different projects that people are hoping to work on. And then as you post your progress pictures or any of your finished object pictures, you can also include that hashtag Make92022Mal, and that will enter you into the drawing to win a prize, which I draw periodically throughout the year. I have a couple more prizes to gift to those that have been participating this year. A couple of months ago probably showed off a box of goodies that were sent to me from Lindsay, and one of the viewers of this podcast, and she also has a podcast. Oh, why can't I think of the name? I'll put it right here. I'm sorry, Lindsay, I can't remember the name, but I'll put it right here so that you know if you want to check out her YouTube channel as well. I would highly recommend that. Anyway, she sent over just a ton of lovely, gorgeous yarns that I am gifting throughout the year. So here is another one of the prizes that she sent my way. This is a beautiful yarn from Hot Springs Fiber Company, and it's on the Seriously sock base. It's 85% merino wool and 15% nylon. And the colorway is called the Ladies of AYC. Isn't that just gorgeous? I'm assuming that's self-striping. I'm pretty sure it would be. So I think that that will just make a gorgeous pair of socks, probably, or, you know, anything you want, a hat, gloves, whatever. The winner of this beautiful hank of yarn is Anna. I'm assuming it's pronounced Anna or Anna. And her username on Instagram is Crafter Hands. So congratulations to you. For the winners of, I'm going to give one more prize away. For the winners of these prizes, please just send me a direct message on Instagram, or you can email me with your full name and mailing address, and I will try to get these off to you as soon as possible. Just as a side note, if you are a winner of a prize from the last episode, I still haven't gotten to the post office, so I greatly apologize for that. I have both winners got in contact with me, and I said I would try to get them packages mailed as soon as possible, but it's like a big deal for me to go to the post office, it seems, and I just haven't made it yet. So I apologize, but I'm going to try to get those mailed soon. I really am. Anyway, the next prize is this gorgeous Zauber ball. So it's by Shopple, and the colorway is called, I know it's on here some way, Durch die Blume. And it kind of has it shows you the color, the way that the colors stripe up, I guess. Just really pretty greens and pinks. This one is 75% superwash wool, and I'm sorry, virgin. This is also virgin wool, 75% virgin wool and 25% nylon. The winner of this ball is Denise on Instagram. Her username is knitter_big D. Congratulations, Denise. Same for you. Just let me know your full name and mailing address, and I will try to get those off in the mail to you as soon as possible. So thank you so much to those of you who have been participating throughout the year already. I really appreciate you joining in on this make along. It's been so fun to see the different projects that everybody is working on, so continue to join in if you would like. I would love to see what you would like to make this year as well. Today I am wearing a finished object and I'm so pleased with how it turned out. This is the Slanting Slip-On, a pattern by Ventzel. And this is my first finished object from either of my Make 9 2022 boards. And so I made 2 boards at the beginning of the year, one with all garments and one with accessories. And I've just been so, I don't know, distracted with other projects that I haven't gotten around to any of my projects until now. And this is the first project that I've been able to, this is the first project I started from one of my boards, and now it's finished and I'm so pleased. Just because I love how it turned out, but it's also just so nice to finally get around to working on my Make 9 boards. I knit this using this Lion Brand yarn. It's called Coboo, and it is 51% cotton and 29% rayon from bamboo. It's a DK weight, and the color is called Peach. And I really enjoyed working with this yarn. It was easy to split the plies. I think it's like 8 plies. So those did split easily. So that was a bit of a frustration when working with it, because a lot of times I wouldn't catch all of the strands in the ply. But other than that, I really enjoyed working with it. I love how it knit up. I love the feel of it and the drape of it. It's just such a nice, it's perfect for a summer garment. So I'm really pleased with that. This garment was knit from the top down. Last time I recorded, I believe I had finished, you first start on the front piece, and then you put that on hold, and then you work the back piece. And I believe I was on the back piece last time I recorded an episode, which, by the way, I recorded my last episode on June 1st, and now today's June 30th. So it's kind of funny, I'm doing it on the first and last day of the month, which it's been kind of a busy month. We had VBS that I helped out with, and we got a new puppy dog, which maybe I'll put a clip in here. Maybe you already saw a clip of her at the beginning of the episode. And I mentioned last time that we got chicks, so we've been busy with those. And then we have a farm cat that just had kittens yesterday, but she hid them really well in a huge stick pile that we have, so we can't actually see them. But anyway, we've had sicknesses, and there's just been a lot. I don't know. Anyway, back to this. I was working on the back piece last time I recorded, and it has, in the pattern, there's a few extra rows for the back piece, and I finished the back piece, including those extra rows, and there's increases as well. And I tried it on, I think I had just joined in the round, and I tried it on, and it was too big. And especially the armholes were way too big. They like went way down. So I decided to rip back the back piece and exclude those extra rows and increases. So basically there are some short rows up at the top. I think there's more short rows on the back piece, if I remember right. So the back and front aren't exactly matching, but the stitch count was more, I think it was the same number of stitches for the front and back piece, which was different from the original pattern. But it helped it to fit me better. So then I just joined in the round and followed the pattern from then on. However, I did decide to go back in and stitch up the underarm, which you can kind of see right here. It's about 2 inches that I decided to stitch up because the underarm hole was still too large, and I wanted it to be close fitting so that, you know, it'd just be more coverage, I guess. I didn't like it so open in the underarms, but I really was happy that I was able just to stitch up those sides, and I think that worked out really well. I also knit it a bit shorter than the pattern called for. I knit it to 44 centimeters long before I started the ribbing. I don't remember what the pattern says, but I think that that is shorter than what the original pattern called for. I also did not go down in needle size. You're supposed to use, it calls for 2 different needle sizes, which I only used a US 3.25 millimeter for the entirety of the garment. It calls for you only to use a smaller needle for the bottom ribbing, and I just didn't do that, and I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't want the ribbing to cinch in, and the ribbing, it's great. I wouldn't want it to be any tighter, so I'm glad I did that. Let's see, my gauge was 21 stitches to 10 centimeters. I don't really remember if that meant gauge or not, but I knit the size large. I mentioned last time that there's not a huge size range for this pattern, unfortunately. So that's too bad. I think that I have heard other people say that some of her earlier patterns and Ventzel's earlier patterns did not have a huge size range, but that her newer patterns do have a larger size range. So that's nice, but maybe she'll go back and add sizes. Like if you are a larger size than what she calls for, I would recommend that you contact her and ask if she would be willing to adjust the pattern to include your size. It's just worth a shot if you are interested in this pattern, but it doesn't come in your size. So I'll go ahead and stand up so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so here you can see the length of it is, nice. It's plenty long, even though I made it a little bit shorter. The back is very similar to the front. It just goes up a bit higher. So there it is. I can also, do like the front tuck thing to look cooler. So anyway, there it is. I'm really happy with it. So I am just really happy with how this turned out, and I'm hopeful that I'll get a lot of wear out of this garment this summer. So it's so nice to be able to have some summer garments that, you can still wear your knitted things even in the summertime. I think that's so fun to be able to do. Okay, I have another finished object. Last time I recorded, I was working on this baby blanket. This is called the Diamond Bobble Blanket Crochet Pattern by Carolien. Last time I recorded, I left the progress keeper on here to show you if I can find it. Last time I recorded, I was right here. This cute progress keeper was made for me by my cousin Allie. It's this cute little cactus. Isn't it adorable? So cute. Thank you again, Allie, for that. I just love it so much. She sent me several progress keepers, but that's one of the many that she sent to me. Anyway, so I was just about ready to start this gray section, and I did that, and then I realized that I no longer had I did not have enough of the gray or the teal to do any more stripes in those colors. I only had enough of the clarity to do more stripes. The yarn that I used is Knit Picks Brava. The dark gray color is called Cobblestone Heather. The teal is called Tidepool, and the light blue is called Clarity. So I did these two stripes from the last time that I showed you this project. And then I had originally started the blanket with this Cobblestone Heather stripe. And I wanted it to be a bit bigger. After I finished this stripe, I didn't have any more yarn to continue with the pattern that I'd started, the color placement, but I wanted it bigger. So I thought, well, I can just go onto the other side and add one more stripe of that Clarity colorway. So that's what I did. I just went along the starting edge of the crochet project and crocheted the opposite way. But you can't tell because I just turned it so that everything would line up and it looks fine. So I'm really happy that I was able to do that. All of this yarn is 100% acrylic. It's worsted weight. I used an H5mm hook, and each section took about 57 grams of yarn. Each stripe, I mean. So I really enjoyed working on this pattern. I highly recommend it. It is really well written. This little bean stitch that she has to make up the diamond shaping is really a fun and easy pattern, and she has it really clearly written in the pattern. It's a very well written pattern. For the border, I thought about using the Clarity because I did have enough of that left over, but I thought it would be fun just to put in an extra color as a border, and I'm so pleased that I did. So I went with this light gray color that I had. That is a Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn. It's in the classic gray color, and it's also worsted weight and 100% acrylic. And that border I followed the pattern for that, except she does change colors a bit throughout the border, but I just used the gray, this classic gray color for the entirety of the border. But it includes that bean stitch as well, and I think that the looks of that border is so beautiful. I just love how that border looks. It's just ties it together perfectly, you know, incorporating that same stitch that you see throughout the body of the pattern. It's, you know, incorporated into the border, and I just think it ties it together so beautifully. So this is, I'm not really sure who this is going to go to. My stepmom did ask that I would make a couple of baby blankets for some friends of hers. So this may go off to her. I have a few other, I just love to make baby blankets. They're just one of my favorite things to work up. And so anyway, I just made it because I wanted to, and it will go to somebody sometime. But I just love making them. So I just try to always have a few on hand for whenever anybody that I know has a baby. I'll go ahead and stand up so that you can see it a bit better. So here you can see it in its entirety, and I think it's just a really nice size for a baby blanket. So you could probably go either way, really. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm really happy that I was able to make it symmetrical. I think that is just so much better. This was, again, such a fun project, and that pattern, I loved working on it. It was great. I have a few more finished objects. Last time I recorded an episode, I was working on this potholder. This is a new to me pattern, but it's an oldie. You know, it's like a classic pattern, but I just had never made one of these before. It is called the, what is it called? It is called the Crochet Double Thick Diagonal Potholder, and I found this as a free pattern by Mielkes Fiber Arts. Last time I recorded, I was just working on this. It is made using some acrylic yarn, again, 100% acrylic yarn, worsted weight. It was a mystery yarn that I received from my friend Tina when she was clearing out some of her stash. I used a G hook, which is 4mm, and I did change the pattern to start with a chain of 40, which was a little bit larger than what the original pattern called for because I wanted it to be bigger. My square measures about 6 inches square. And you just knit it through, I think, the back loop, and you just go around and around. So it's a super easy pattern. A few people, or someone had commented on my last video that this was their first crochet project that they ever worked on, was one of these potholders, because it is just such a simple project, and I can see that that would work up really nicely for a beginner. The original pattern calls for you to stitch up this seam so that it's closed, but I decided not to do that because I thought it would be kind of handy to be able to hold it like this. My husband almost every night drinks a cup of tea, and my kids oftentimes like to get that tea for him, but the cup is too hot for them to hold a lot of times, and so they're using these big oven mitts to carry it. And I thought this might work out really well for their smaller hands to just slip through the handle of the mug and carry it. So I just thought it would be good. I would not use this to pull a hot pan out of the oven, but it would work for something that's just too hot for your hands, but not like scalding hot, if that makes sense. I had also some commenters question making a potholder out of acrylic yarn, because acrylic can melt under high heat. And I want to show you some potholders from my collection that are made out of acrylic yarn, and they have held up beautifully, but I don't put super hot things on them. So it's just for like if I'm setting out, you know, like if I'm making a meal that has like lots of hot dishes, then I'll put them on there, but the pans aren't like scalding hot. They're not right off the oven, they're just a little bit warm, you know, that I wouldn't want to put them right on the countertop. So I have this beautiful pile of potholders that are so precious to me. They were crocheted by my grandmother. She passed away back in 2004, so it's precious to me to have these in my collection, and I use these often. Like, they're just always in my kitchen drawer, and I use them all the time. I should try to find what pattern she used. If you know, leave it in the comments below if you're familiar with this pattern. It looks like she crocheted through the back loop and just went around in a spiral using scraps, I'm sure. But you can see they've held up really well. They haven't melted because I don't put hot things on them. This one, she definitely used scraps, so it's super fun and bright colored. And then this one is neon. So anyway, I just thought I would show these off because they're so precious to me. And you know, it's fun that even a simple thing like a crocheted pot holder made out of scraps can become something that I treasure, you know, and that can be true for anything that we make as knitters and crocheters. So anyway, I'm really happy with how this turned out. It was a super fun and easy pattern. Yeah, I can see that I will make more of these in the future, but I would probably even go larger than 40 stitches to start off with because I think that's pretty little. I mean, like I said, it will work well for my kids' little hands to use it like a mitt, but for an actual pot, I would normally need one that's a bit bigger than this. So if I do make it in the future, I'll probably try maybe 50 stitches to start off with, but I'm happy with how that turned out as well. I also have another pair of finished socks to share with you all. I hadn't even started these last time I recorded an episode, but I love them. I was just going through my scraps and I'd pulled out lots of the bright neon, fun, summery kind of colors that I found in my stash. I just had a ton of tiny little pieces that I thought I should see if I could get enough rounded up to make a pair of socks. So I weighed one of my other pairs of Shortie socks that I have finished lately and then just made sure I had enough scraps to, you know, be enough to make another pair. So aren't they fun? They're not matching, just the cuffs are matching. Otherwise they're completely mismatched. I do have some colors that are in both socks because I had little pieces of a couple different colors. So you might be able to see that some of the stripes are the same from one sock to the other, but they're but none of the stripes are placed in the same exact place. So for these, I used US 0 2mm needles, and I cast on 60 stitches. I did a 2x1 ribbing for 15 rounds, and then went straight into a slip stitch heel flap, and I just totally randomly striped in the colors. Again, as you probably are familiar if you've watched my episodes before, I always add in a slip stitch detail to the ball of the foot of my socks so that I can prevent getting holes in that section of my socks. That's where I wear holes in my socks most quickly. I did a rounded toe and Kitchenered the toes. I have just really enjoyed wearing these Shortie socks during the hot weather. And I am so happy to have this pair to add to my collection. I think they're so much fun. They're just wonderful for summer to have these bright colors that I don't normally wear against my face, you know, because it just doesn't complement my skin tone, but I love them. So on my feet, they'll be fun and I will enjoy wearing them so much. I have one more finished object to share with you all, which is kind of a sad story. Last time I recorded, I showed a new cast on that I had started another project from my accessories Make 9 2022 board. And it was a pair of socks that I had started called the Soltice Stockings by Blair. Beautiful, beautiful pattern. I absolutely love the pattern, but it did not work out for me. So I started knitting one of the cuffs, and here it is. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's just a beautiful pattern. It is made using sport weight yarn. I used Patons Kroy socks yarn in the muslin colorway. It's a 75% wool and 25% nylon base. It's listed as a fingering weight, but really it's more of a sport weight, so I thought it would work well. I used US 1.5, 2.5mm needles, and I was working on the size medium from the pattern. But I Well, I was a bit worried about when you're knitting the cuff, you're knitting it across this way. And every right side row starts with a yarn over. And I was worried with how mine was looking because the yarn overs were just looking really loose and it wasn't laying nicely at all. And I was a bit worried about it. So I finished the cuff and then I blocked it to see if it would lay nicer. And it does lay nicer, but I would just, as you can see, it still kind of flares at the top. And I'm not happy with how it looks on my leg as a sock. So I decided to not frog it, but just stop here. And I thought it looks like a crown, and I will give it to my daughter and she can put it on one of her dolls as a crown. So, or like a, you know, she has lots of baby dolls, so it'll fit on one of the baby dolls' heads and be a cute little crown for the baby doll. So it's okay. I was hoping for these socks because I really love how they look, how the pattern looks, but it just didn't work out for me, and that's okay. But it's a really fun little crown and my daughter will enjoy it. So those are all of my finished objects. Onto my works in progress. Last time I recorded, I had shown you another pair of socks from my Make 9 2022 board that I was working on, and I am still working on those. They are being held in this project bag that I made. And they are the Chicken Scratch socks by Backwoods Knits. And they're coming along beautifully. So last time I recorded, I hadn't gotten very far. I had just started the patterning on the sock. So I had just done the ribbing and then just started. I think I'd only done like half of a round on the first row of the pattern. So here they are. This progress keeper is marking where I was last time. And it's also dual purpose because it has a row counter on it. This is a gift that I received from Emma of Potter and Bloom in our Advent swap that we did at Christmas time. And it's from Twill and Print. This progress keeper is from Twill and Print. And I just think it's beautiful. Isn't it great? Look at that beautiful lighthouse and sunset, I would assume. And the row counter goes up from 0 to 9. But I only need, this pattern is a 4-row repeat. And so I just love being able to put that on there, and then I don't have to second guess where I'm at in the pattern. I can just keep track using that row counter. So it's wonderful. For these, I am knitting the small size, which is a 60 stitch count. The ribbing is 3 by 2 for 20 rounds. And then you start into this gorgeous chicken scratch pattern, which I just love the texture of this pattern. And I love the yarn that I'm using. This gorgeous yarn is also from a Christmas Advent swap that I did with Tiffany of the Woolen Homestead a few years ago. Isn't it absolutely stunning? Oh my goodness, I just love these colors in this yarn so much, and how it works with the pattern. I think it's a perfect match. This colorway is called Hogsmeade Holiday. But unfortunately, Tiffany and Ethan don't dye their yarns anymore. But oh my goodness, I'm so pleased with how these are turning out. They're just so fun. I've followed the pattern exactly, except on that first round that I was working on last time I recorded, I messed up this chicken scratch stitch. And as you can see, my stitches on this first round are slanting to the right. Is that right? They're slanting to the left. And I just messed up that first round. I didn't place this is, a special stitch that makes this patterning, and I didn't do it correctly the first round. But by the second round, I figured out what I had done wrong. It was my fault. It's very clear in the pattern. I just misread it, misunderstood how to do it. I could have, of course, gone back and ripped it out, but I didn't want to go back 4 rounds. I was just like, well, it's fine. I'll just fix it from here on out, and it's no big deal. Otherwise, I followed the pattern exactly. I put in a contrast color for the heels. This is my own hand-dyed yarn on my comfort colorway. So I just thought that the rusty color and that really brought out the beautiful rust specks in the Woolen Homestead yarn. They're both 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon bases, but I think that the Woolen Homestead's base is so much nicer than mine. I mean, I like both, but it's just, it feels so nice. I love this base so much. So anyway, I am still doing the gusset decreases. It's a slip stitch heel flap again. And I'm still doing the gusset decreases on these socks. Did I mention I'm using US 0.2mm needles for these as well? So I think that's it. I'm just loving these. These are a great project now. I have the pattern memorized. Like I said, I do use that row counter to keep track of where I'm at in the pattern, but it's very, very easy to take these and work on them when I, don't have the ability to concentrate on a pattern very much. So that's so nice to have patterns like that you can easily grab and take with you wherever you need to go. My next work in progress is a new cast on. I'm holding it in this Allison Barnes collection project bag that I received as a prize through an Instagram giveaway many years ago. When I finished this top, I still had, as I showed you, I have a full skein or cake of this Lion Brand Coboo yarn, and I had another one that was only partially used. And I went through my stash and I had a few other DK weight cotton yarns that I wanted to try to work up into another summer garment. So I found a pattern called the Aquae tank. I'm not sure of the pronunciation there, but the designer is Hilary Smith Callis. She's known as the Yarniad? I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, I loved this tank pattern that she designed, and I thought it would work really well to use up a bunch of my DK weight scraps. And so I have just been randomly striping in my colors that I have, and I've made some good progress on this. So it's all scrunched up on my circular needles, but you can kind of see how it's coming. Here's the back side. And I'm loving how it's looking. I think that it's so pretty. So obviously the Coboo and the peach is up here at the top. And then the other colors I'm using, I got this Lion Brand Truboo at my local thrift shop for only 79 cents. Yay, gotta love a good bargain. And let's see, this one is 100% rayon from Bamboo. And it is in the colorway Mulberry. So it's just this really beautiful color. And it's very similar to the Coboo, which you might expect. It's also a bit splitty like the Coboo is. The ply is just a loose ply. Maybe you can kind of see that it's just, well, here at the end, you can really see that it just totally comes apart into those different strands very easily. But it's okay, I've been enjoying working with it still. I have the most of the Coboo, and then second, I have the most of this one. I think it was a full skein, 100 grams of yarn. Maybe not quite a full skein, but pretty close. Okay, the other colors I have are Knit Picks Cotton in linen. So this is another DK weight, 70% Tengus cotton and 30% linen. And I also have a bunch of tiny, tiny little bits of the ash color in the same cotton yarn. And then I also am using this yarn, which is, let me see if I can find the tag. It's also a Knit Picks. It's in the Comfy Fingering weight. So I'm holding this one double. This is in just the white colorway. I have the least amount of this yarn. It is 75% Pima cotton, 25% acrylic. And so I'm just pulling from both the inside and outside of this cake. and holding it double. But that's just working out really well. I am, let's see, I'm making the third size in the pattern. The top part for both the front and back is knit flat. So for that section, I used a US 5 3.75 millimeter for my knit stitches, and then for my purl stitches, I went down to a US 4 3.5 millimeter, just because my purl stitches are a bit looser than my knit stitches typically. So I wanted to have a really even gauge while I was knitting flat, and that seemed to work out really well. But now that I'm knitting in the round, I just am using the US 5s for that. I had started using some smaller sized needles, and I didn't gauge swatch. I just started the pattern and then checked my gauge, and it was turning out too tight. So I went up to, I think those are the recommended needle sizes. The ones I'm using, well, the US 5 I think is the recommended. Let me double check that. Yes, that is the recommended needle size, the US 5. So that's what I ended up going with. Oh, I did make some modifications I forgot to mention. The back is supposed to have a racer back. So it's supposed to have some decreases and then some increases again to have a bit of a racer back shaping to the back, but I didn't want that. I would rather it just be straight. So I just eliminated the increases, or the decreases and the increases on the back section. Also, there's supposed to be like a fake seam with a purl stitch on either side while you're knitting the body, but I've eliminated that, and I'm just knitting completely straight stockinette. I did not include that purl stitch on the underarm or the side seam section. And I've also skipped the waist shaping. I'm just knitting it straight. There is some waist shaping included in the pattern, but I just want it to be a simple straight fit. So I'm just knitting in the round. It's super easy, and my stripes are completely random. I am following the same order, as you can see. So I'm always going peach, ash, linen, mulberry, white, and repeating that, but the width of each stripe is different and random. They're ranging from one, like this white one is just a one row, and then the longest one I've done so far is 14. Right here, this section here, I did 14 rounds. But it's going really well. Super, super simple at this point to just knit in the round, and easy and fun. So I'm excited to have another summery garment, summer tank top to add to my wardrobe. That's been a fun one, and changing the colors just makes it more interesting, and it's been great. My next work in progress is being held in this project bag that I made a long time ago. I showed this off last time too, and I think this was the very first project bag that I ever made. I am making another pair of Shortie socks, which I'm so excited about because I've just been loving the Shortie socks, as I mentioned. And I'm using this fun sock set that I won through the Rose Opal Knits podcast. This is dyed by Angela of Willow Tree Yarn, and it's in the Island Retreat sock set. It's fingering weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon base. Aren't those colors so great? They're just perfect for summer as well. I love them so much. And this pattern I'm making was gifted to me, and I had gifted it on my last episode. It was one of the prizes that I had given away from Ghazal Mohammed, and it is called the Abyss Socks. Oh, I'm a bit tangled up. There we go. So I haven't done a ton on these yet. I've just started on the second repeat of the lace and cable patterning. I don't know if you'll be able to see it really well with this yarn, but I'm really happy with how they're turning out. I just love how they're working up. So for these, I am making the size that calls for 60 stitches again. Started with 1x1 ribbing for 15 rounds. Oh, this cute progress keeper is also from Rose Opal Knits. They sent this along with the prize. Isn't that cute? And then after I did the 15 rounds, again, I went directly into the heel, the slip stitch heel flap. Oh, that's a modification from the original pattern. In the original pattern, she calls for an afterthought heel, but I don't prefer those. They don't fit my feet very well. So I decided just to include a slip stitch heel flap using that contrast color. It's coming across more darker. It's coming across darker on screen than it is in person. And in person, it's more of a vibrant, bright, beautiful color. Actually, both of them are a bit brighter in person, which is really fun. Anyway, I love how those colors look together. They're so pretty. And then, like I said, I've done about 1.5 repeats of the patterning. It's mirrored on each sock. So on the right sock, the patterning is on the right side, and on the left sock, the patterning is more on the left side. But it's maybe hard to tell. There's just a few extra stitches here on the inside of each sock that are done in stockinette. But these are super fun as well. This is a pattern that I need to concentrate a little bit more on though, because it includes both lace and a few cables. So they're really easy. I mean, it's not a difficult pattern, but you just need to concentrate on which row you're on to do that pattern. But I enjoy that type of a project as well. It's nice to have different projects for different, times during the day. If you have time where you can concentrate, and then times when I need something that's completely mindless, where I don't have to concentrate, that it's nice to have a variety of projects that meet those different needs. The last work in progress that I want to share with you all is a really old project that I bet I haven't shown off in almost a year on one of my episodes. This is my super duper scrappy granny stripe blanket. This is, I followed the tutorial by Bella Coco for mine. You can probably I know you can find this pattern online through a lot of different sources, but that's the tutorial that I followed to get especially on the edges. Otherwise it's a very simple pattern, doing a granny stripe stitch. But it's nice to follow a pattern to know exactly how to do those edges so that they work out really well. So for this pattern, I am using the tiniest bits of scraps. Like, this is the scraps of the scraps. So I use strands of yarn that are, I would guess, about 18 inches or more. So if anything is about this long, I'll keep it. And I just save all of those little scraps in a basket, and I just pile them up until I have a good amount. And then once I have a good amount of scraps saved up, then I put them in like a rainbow order, and I use the Russian join method to join each of those scraps, which is probably the most time-consuming process of this project, is joining all the little scraps together. But it is just so satisfying for me to use up the tiniest bits, because this blanket is being made up of pieces of yarn that would normally be put into the trash can. And I've been working on this for 2 years now, and as you can see, it's like it would make a good scarf right now, but it's still so tiny, even though I've been working on it for 2 years. But that's okay. I just love the process of using up my scraps, and it's okay that it goes really slowly, and I just think it is so gorgeous. I love it. I love this so much. I wish that I could work on it more. That's the only thing, is that when I get that ball of yarn that is made up of all of those scraps that I can work into, it is so addictive to use it up and work on this blanket. It's so much fun to see all the different color variation. Isn't it great? Oh my goodness, I love it so much. It's so fun. So last time I showed this off on an episode, like I said, I bet it was close to a year ago, because I just don't get the chance to work on this very often at all. But here is a progress keeper that is marking where I was the last time I showed it. So I've made several inches of progress since I showed it off last, but I started off with a chain of 300 to start, and then I am using a C 2.75 millimeter hook for this project. It makes me so happy. I love it. I was thinking it would, at this point, it would make a great scarf, or I could even like join it in the round and it would make a great cowl as well, like an infinity scarf. But I'm going to keep working on it as a blanket, just because it'll be even better as a blanket. But it is kind of cute as this, like worn like this as well. And I could actually wear it like this. Nobody would probably really notice that I had this tail hanging off one edge and it's not quite finished on this one edge, but you know, it's still usable. It's so much fun. I love it so much. This section right here is so nice. I love it. Oh, it's so fun. So anyway, if you are not using up your itty bitty bitty bits of yarn, I recommend you think about making something like this, and just, you know, if it doesn't bother you to weave in the ends or join in a, you know, like I said, I use the Russian join method. I just think that that works out really well for a project like this. If it doesn't bother you to do that sort of thing, which I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it just brings me so much joy. I don't know why, but I just love being able to use up all the tiny bits. It's so great. Okay, so that is all of the projects I have to share with you all this time. I hope that you enjoyed watching this episode. If you did, I would be so appreciative of you subscribing to this channel and giving this video a thumbs up. I hope you all are doing really well. I hope you all are having a great summer or winter wherever you are in the world, and I wish you the very best. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.